y'all, this is the second video that I've done today. If you've been following the Idaho 4 murders, then please go over to my other channel, Michelle Walks, where I made a short video about Brian Koberger. An interesting snippet of information has come out, so do go and check that out. But in this video, I want to talk about Nicola Bulley, the 45-year-old mother of two from Lancashire, who went missing on Friday morning of January 27th. And yesterday, Lancashire police at the press conference revealed that the body that had been found on Sunday morning by dog walkers in the River Wyre, in the reeds, tangled in a upturned tree, was indeed that of Nicola Bulley. That location was about a mile away from the bench where her dog Willow and her phone were found at 9:33 a.m. on Friday, January 27th. In this video, I want to make a plea. I'm going to refrain from ranting because I have been known to do that when this topic comes up. It's a plea to everyone, creators, whether you're on YouTube, TikTok or any other social media, but also people who view that content, especially those people who view that content. Please, can we now let her rest? There was an emotional appeal read out by Lancashire police from Nicola's family. They're going through unmeasurable agony. I'm glad that they've spoken out, even if it's via Lancashire police and a written statement. This case has been insane. It's not just the mainstream media that's the problem here, although I think the mainstream media have fed into the conspiracy theories. They have. Yesterday, I made a long video about why Nicola's body wasn't found for 23 days. But it's not unusual. In drowning cases where somebody falls or is pushed or jumps into a body of water, so many people who drown are never recovered. Water searches are incredibly difficult. I speculate that Nicola's body perhaps has been in that spot for a long time. And as a result of decomposition and the recent storm that we've had here in Lancashire, her body has made its way to the surface. Now, of course, the police can ask questions of their own searchers and the search organisations involved. Very intensive search, reaching out all the way to the Wyre estuary and into Morecambe Bay. They can ask questions of themselves. But the media, social media, and Peter Faulding, the mouthpiece and CEO of SGI, a search agency from the south of England that came and helped with that search. In my opinion, he has contributed to the conspiracy theories, and he's been given a platform by the media to do that. But it's time now to let Nicola rest. And the reason I say this is because her family are going through immeasurable pain. Please, let's not give them any more. In that statement that Lancashire police read out, it was mentioned about the amount of people who've accused Paul, Nicola's partner, of murdering her or doing something to her that resulted in her death. And Nicola and Paul's daughters, who are currently aged 9 and 6, one day will find that information. And, you know, if it gets out on the internet, it's forever, right? It's forever. They're going to see that information. Not only have they lost their mother in a horrible way, they've now got to contend with a future knowing that the media went crazy, social media went crazy. People accused their dad, who has now got to be their rock, of heinous crimes. Please let it rest. An autopsy will be conducted, if it hasn't been already, and the manner and cause of death will be established. And for me, personally, it is only if there is that slim chance that this will be ruled a homicide and a criminal investigation will ensue. In my opinion, this was a tragic accident and Nicola drowned. I've said that all along and I continue to say that. However, if it does turn out that there is a criminal element to this, that evidence can be found from Nicola's body that there was a murder, whether it's a hyoid bone broken, which indicates strangling, or whether it's found that her body hadn't spent 23 days in water. You know, there's a lot of people who are saying this is some kind of cover-up, or that her body has been dumped, that she's been murdered on land and her body has been dumped in the water to make it look like a drowning. It will be obvious, blatantly obvious from an autopsy that will be conducted by a Home Office pathologist overseen by a Home Office coroner. There's no way in the world that this can be a police cover-up. It's out of the hands of the police. But they will be able to establish very quickly whether or not Nicola has spent 23 days in water or whether she's been dumped there. The thing that I fear is that people aren't going to let this drop. That people, regardless of what is found, whether this is ruled an accident or whether at the inquest it's ruled an open verdict, which means, you know, yes, she drowned. However, we can't say whether this was an accident, whether she took her own life. It could be that it's ruled an open verdict at the inquest. But my plea is very, very simple. Please let this rest. Please leave Nicola's family alone. Don't contact them. They've asked for privacy at this time. Please let it go. There will be a full inquest and investigation into Nicola's death. It's unnecessary now to follow this on any further, unless there is that slim chance a criminal investigation ensues. And then, of course, I will follow that very, very closely. And I'll be back to making daily videos or almost daily videos about this case. But unless that happens, it's time. It's time to let Nicola rest, let her family heal as best they can, and to leave Nicola Bulley's family alone. And her friends. Just leave it. Every case that we have where the family or friends or associates are blamed, everybody becomes the subject of some kind of internet sleuth investigation. Even when it's clear, absolutely clear, that the police aren't looking at these people as suspects. Every case angers me a little bit more, but also saddens me a little bit more. Athena Strand, the little girl who got murdered by a FedEx driver who confessed. Her stepmother went through days of being dragged, her name being dragged through the mud on social media. Michael Vaughan, abducted, believed dead. His body moved from a home just half a mile away where he'd been buried in a backyard. But his body is still not been recovered. There are people still blaming Michael Vaughan's family. Please do not let Nicola Bulley's family go through any more than they've gone through already. The situation is tragic. Please, I plead with creators and people who watch that content to let it go. What I don't want is Nicola Bulley to become the UK's Kiely Rodni. If you followed the Kiely Rodni case from August of last year, you'll know that Kiely was a 16-year-old girl who went to a party in a wooded area known as the Sanctuary by the side of Prosser Reservoir in Truckee, California. The situation of Kiely is very different than that of Nicola. Nicola being a 45-year-old mother of two who took her dog for a walk, right? That should be an incredibly low-risk situation. Millions of people throughout the UK take their dogs for a walk every single day. Or at least they should do. Should walk your dogs every day, guys, right? Arguably, what Kiely Rodni did as a 16-year-old girl, consuming alcohol, consuming substances. Now, at the autopsy, her alcohol level was actually low, but there was indication of some substances in her system. Going to a party where people were drinking, many underage. Substances were being passed around. But look what happened in that case. Yes, there was a lot of suspicious circumstances, fed by search team Adventures with Purpose, who did a great thing in finding Kiely's body inside her car in Prosser Reservoir, and it was ruled an accidental death. Cause of death, drowning. But people would not let that lie. Even after a fire cam video was found. So these fire cameras are kind of all over California. And it just so happened that one of them, on a hill about 2 miles away, on the night of that party into the early hours, that camera faced Prosser Reservoir. And I and several other creators took that video, which was just really dark because it was night time, but you could just see the lights of cars moving. We overlaid a photo of exactly the same scene and matched it up, overlaid it over the fire camera footage and showed Kiely's car going into Prosser Reservoir. She just took a wrong turn by the looks of things. But people said that footage was fake. People said, you know, it was all manufactured, that there was this big cover-up going on. And yeah, I did lots of videos about Kiely's case, followed it while she was missing. And then once her car was recovered, we talked about it a lot. A lot of channels covered it. A lot of channels covered Kiely's case. A lot more channels covered Kiely's case than have covered Nicola's. And I'm pleased about that. It seems to be, in Nicola's case, it seems to be the TikTokers that have been the most obtrusive and obnoxious. You know, going onto private properties, sneaking around people's backyards, trying to get into sheds, committing criminal damage, taking down the boarding from the old pump house at the side of the river on the lower field, filming the abandoned house, which isn't abandoned, accusing the caravan park of this, that, the third, not understanding what that caravan park was. It was too simple. You know, people could not accept that Nicola had fallen in the river. We have accidents every day, right? Accidents, we all have them. But just occasionally, sadly, an accident can be tragically fatal. And if that happened in Nicola's case, it's far too simple for the internet to accept. And fed by mainstream media, fed by Peter Faulding, I'm going to blame Peter, but it's not just Peter, feeding in to this narrative that something else had to have happened. In that regard, Nicola's case reminds me a lot of Kiely Rodni's, that people couldn't accept that a 16-year-old girl took a wrong turn and sadly drove herself into that water of Prosser Reservoir and unfortunately could not get out and she drowned. They couldn't accept that. Now, I admit, I fed into, I thought that Kiely's friend, Sammy Smith, was suspicious. She inserted herself in the case. I questioned whether maybe Kiely had taken an overdose and people knew about it and pushed her car into the lake. This was fed into by Adventures with Purpose, who... It's got millions of views now, their video on finding Kiely Rodni. And they interviewed Nick, the tow truck guy, who said that he'd been to a call out at another reservoir close by, Boca Reservoir, on the Saturday morning. So the party was the Friday night into the early hours of the Saturday morning. And on that Saturday morning at Boca Reservoir, he was called out to a car that the occupants couldn't start. And he was sure that that was Kiely and a male person. And that did raise a lot of suspicions. But when that firecam video came out, it became very clear to me that this was a tragic accident But people would not let that lie. I left that case behind at that time. I concluded that it was a tragic accident and I didn't want to play into it any further. And I left the case behind. Just like I'm going to let Nicola's case rest now. Unless, as I said, that slim chance that it is ruled a homicide. And then, of course, I'll pick up on that case. It's time to let Nicola rest. Just like it was time to let Kiely rest. And let their families reach some kind of resolution to work through their grief and not be bothered by the media or social media. I hope people apologise. I always say this. I hope people apologise when they've accused people. Some people do. I have seen some apologies. But many, many don't. Many will carry on believing what they want to believe. But let's wait and see what the result of the inquest brings. But until then, unless there's any major news, it's time to let Nicola rest and her family start the healing journey. All right, guys, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I've been Michelle. Hope you're well, and I'll see you very soon in the next video. Bye, guys.